What do you think about the
No,
new
but that's your
FOIA and the
daughter.
videos coming out?
Well, I hope they all come out soon.
You're
What do
hopeful
you
for them to come out?
Yeah, I want all of them to come out.
Gypsy's not worried?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I think that it's important for everyone to see everything.
Okay.
I think that it's important for everyone to see everything.
Keep making content.
Good morning, friends. I thought we would do a slightly different video today. A thought experiment, if you will. I don't follow or watch Gypsy's friends and defenders myself. I can't take the loudness, the screaming, the over talking, just that kind of stuff gives me a headache when I try and listen to it on a panel. And no matter, when it's a panel of a person I like, I can't. So I rarely see the things that they're saying defending Gypsy. However, due to everything that was put out on the recent lives with Into the Weeds, a lot of y'all have been sending me screenshots and little clips of some snippets of their defense. And I thought it would be interesting. What if we tried just putting aside the conclusions that we've made due to everything that we know and try just taking these defense statements at face value? Is it possible, or do the facts simply get in the way? Let's check it out, friends. And I'm not going to show the clips. I'm just going to put up the statements and then we'll talk about them. So this one here seems to be a big one, friends. I was sent a lot of different versions of this. Sometimes specific names instead of they are mentioned, and Into the Weeds, me, Audrey, whoever. And so I just kind of paraphrased it for us to do our little thought experiment and address it. Most people, after seeing this clip, most people after seeing that see this statement and are like, who cares? She did it. And how was she G-worded into doing that by someone with an 82 IQ, or was it 72? I can't remember, friends. And I'm not saying this to be insulting to Nick at all, but simply speaking, facts here, friends. We've been watching his videos and his words. He doesn't come off as a smart guy. And also, generally, and correct me if I'm wrong, friends, I don't have a lot of experience in, reading about this area. But if someone is G-worded into doing everything somebody says, wouldn't they actually do everything they said? Because we know from evidence, from testimonies, that Nick tried several times to get Gypsy to simply run away with him and not do the murder. So just how G-worded was she? And other than to the people who are working on the hashtag Justice for Nick, which I've shared with y'all, I'm not opposed to him getting a fair trial. I simply do not feel compelled to work for it myself or do anything about it due to his confession. Other people feel differently, and that is absolutely okay. You're all welcome here. It's good. We can agree to disagree, friends. But other than to that group of people, the majority of people don't care about this statement in the context of what Gypsy did and said. What do y'all think, friends? Is that right, or is it reaching? Well, let's move on to the next one. Okay, so this is another one that I got a lot of versions of, and I really don't know exactly which part of the Nick videos or calls they're talking about, because I heard him say Gypsy is innocent tons of times. He would say it in his videos whenever he was talking about Gypsy versus Demona. He would say Gypsy's the innocent one, Demona, she's crazy, she's dominant, blah, blah, this and that. Demona steals. And I think he said it whenever he was talking to one of those producers, and this isn't new information. Nick's always said Gypsy's innocent. Everybody knows that Nick still holds up for Gypsy. Everybody believes, mostly, that he is still to this day holding some secrets. And if he's not, so what? We still know from Gypsy's mouth, she sat up on the stand on trial and said it was her idea. She asked him to. She talked him into it. Like, she took that guilty plea deal. Even though we all have a problem with her sentence, like, she did plead guilty. So why would it matter to anyone if Nick says she's innocent from behind bars while serving his life sentence for doing her bidding? Okay, so I said everybody knows there, and to go back more to the integrity of our thought experiment, let's pretend again that we don't know all that. All we know is basically what's out there in the public. After hearing those, hearing some of Nick, and then hearing people say, well, oh, look, Nick said Gypsy's innocent. I would be like, who cares? What difference does that make what he said? I'm sorry, friends, but I mean, can you imagine really having basic knowledge of this case and thinking that this meant something? Okay, moving on. Oh, and nothing is being like accidentally played. Amber got a massive external hard drive with, I believe she said 11,000 documents, and I don't remember how many videos. It's over 100. And Greene County did not catch everything that they needed to redact. In order to protect herself, Amber has got to redact those before she can show them. And then on top of that, a lot of these things have dates modified that are after the murder. So it's literally impossible to sort them in order of dates created. Even if you tried by date modified, it's still going to be an absolute miss. So all the information will be out. I don't see where it really matters what order it's coming out in. The pro-Gypsy people think that it's being released in an order intentionally to make Gypsy look bad, and I don't think that at all. That phone call that they're saying was accidentally played and we didn't know what to say was not accidentally played. It was previewed, and none of us care that Nick said Gypsy was innocent. We didn't have much to say because the phone call was kind of boring. Like, it seems clear to me that due to his low IQ, that Nick doesn't understand what really matters whenever it comes to his defense. He thinks it really matters that Gypsy apparently said at one point that he spoke to her when he come to the bathroom, and he says that that's a lie. He didn't say anything. He just held up his finger. I know a lot of people got really excited saying she lied about the bathroom, but then whenever you listen to the further detail, that's all I heard him say that she was lying about, and that doesn't really matter to his defense. And in my opinion, doesn't matter to Gypsy's guilt. I don't care if she did or didn't stay in the bathroom the whole time. She still convinced him, G-worded him, got him there to do it for her. Nick had no capability to travel. That's another reason why I find it so hard to accept mentally the idea that he did all the G-wording and convinced her remotely to do all this stuff with no capability whatsoever to get to her, without her prepping, planning, paying, managing the whole thing, holding his hand with the instructions, basically, virtually, to get him there. What do y'all think, friends? So yeah, we weren't dumbfounded. We were just like, well, that sounds like the usual from Nick. I don't know what to say. Okay, now this isn't a defense that I've heard recently. It's just one that I want to address because I'm on a roll, friends. Y'all remember whenever she went on Kim Kardashian's show and talked about prison reform, and she said that the prison said she didn't qualify for therapy, not the intensive therapy she needed because she was too well. Because she had to backtrack and clarify a little bit later, saying, well, I had some therapy in prison, but not the kind I needed. I needed intensive therapy. Okay, what if we were to just accept that at face value, that she badly needed intensive therapy? And I personally do believe that. And Gypsy made a comment last night on one of her friends that was streaming Into the Weeds live, talking about the videos. She said, I'm not proud of these, but I've grown and changed. I'm a different person now. I'm paraphrasing, but it was to that effect. If prison reform is needed, according to her words, because of the fact that she couldn't get or qualify for the intensive therapy that she needed in prison, well, then how has she grown and changed? And how is she different? She said in her emails and at other places that Chillicothe was basically like a big girls' camp. She said in a recent post on her Instagram, the prison was easy. Real life is hard time. It doesn't seem that she was challenged really at all in prison other than to pass a math test for a GED. So where's this growth come from? Because we saw the same person come out, friends. She came out of prison and tried to set up an exact scenario that Dee Dee would have done for her. Let's think about that. She came out of prison, And we saw the emails and read them out where she was emailing TMZ telling them that she had gotten her and Ryan's Kansas City Chiefs tickets upgraded to box seats, and she's hoping for a chance to meet Taylor Swift. She wanted to be on public display immediately, meet a celebrity, and have everybody feel sorry for this childlike person for everything that they've been through. Supposedly, that's what she murdered Dee Dee for making her do. Okay, friends, and in the context of the things that Gypsy and her defenders want us to believe about Gypsy and Nick, let's take a look at what Gypsy put in her book, My Time to Stand, last year. Friends, we've been watching videos and recordings of Nick talking. And again, this is not to make fun of Nick, but I feel like his challenges and his low IQ is very apparent. But here's what Gypsy wants us to believe about Nick just last year in her book she published after she was out of prison. She says, Nick's storytelling captivated me, precise and colorful, detailed and well crafted. If he hadn't included the perversion and the savage and depraved violence, he could have turned his stories into novels and sold millions of copies. I could feel the grooves of the stone walls of his castle and the smoothness of the horns of the Soraptors circling the labyrinth. Proper names for his creation rolled off his tongue, suspending my belief in glorious ways. Night after night, I drank from the chalice of his escape. Nick's realm held mystical beasts, evil spells, and poison potions, the upside-down version of my reality. Friends, again, I am not trying to insult Nick, but the guy has trouble precisely having a hello greeting roll off his tongue. Have we seen any of his stories yet? Because I don't remember any, and I can't imagine him putting together a detailed story, friends. And I feel like she wrote this passage here, had her ghostwriters write it, in order to try and get ahead and explain that, oh, you have to understand, Nick is so good at talking people into things. First off, I don't think he is. Second off, what does it matter? You did the thing. Gypsy decided by her word on the stand, it was her idea. She asked him to do it. She talked him into it. So yeah, we understand. Most of us believe that Nick did swing the knife. It does not change or matter when it comes to our perception of how Gypsy was the mastermind. As far as I'm concerned, she should still be in prison. And I think most of us feel that way, friends. Well, that's about everything that I wanted to go over this morning, friends. And the thing that I just want to wind up with saying is some people extremely wonder our motivations in putting all this stuff out. Public knowledge and accurate historical record are very important, especially with the kind of accusations that Gypsy has made and continues to make. Despite her own known and admitted record of stealing, she very recently lectured doctors and nurses about an out-of-date prescription pad whose serial numbers on it indicate it was likely useless whenever it was taken. And let's also not forget and pluck that one of the very few people that she still stays in contact with and stayed in contact with throughout her prison term from her old life was an Aunt Rachel person who she describes as one of her mom's true friends and who her mom was going to have be in charge of Gypsy if something happened to her. And Aunt Rachel apparently worked at the same hospital that prescription pad came from, friends. So I find that really sus. And she did a whole big ass lecture to doctors and nurses about you do not leave stuff like this out there. She loves to get a lecture, friends. Her desire to be a public figure, in my opinion, makes it extremely important for public to have all knowledge of this case because it never went to trial on Gypsy's side. Gypsy got a plea deal that Mike Stanfield and Dan Patterson worked out, even though it appears to me from reading the casebook that the investigators didn't approve and wanted to continue on with the investigation and go for full charges against her. But she got that plea deal, and so public knowledge of exactly what all went down never fully came out. And she came out of prison wanting to be a public figure. And friends, her stepmom publicly said they wanted Gypsy to go to schools and talk to children about her experiences. And then You have to also take into the fact that her and Kian went on OME TV app and spoke with minors, and the only explanation they've ever given for why they did that was Kian saying on a live that they just thought it would be fun to see if anyone recognized Gypsy. It feels like they're always wanting to talk to kids on an app well known for being highly populated with minors. They just went on there to just see if anyone would recognize her. And it's very clear also that Gypsy's well aware that the majority of her audience is minors. She gave that as a reason for Lifetime canceling her show, that her audience is younger and doesn't have cable subscriptions, and therefore the viewership was low. You'd think that with this reputation and a minor child herself, now that somehow she's supposed to protect, she would realize that not being a public figure is the right thing to do for herself and her family. But Gypsy always has, and in my opinion, always will be, obsessed with fame. She's put out an AI video in the last 24 hours that literally shows a dancing AI person that says, "Stay relevant, be the topic of their conversation," which shows her priority is not this family that she's created. Her priority is staying relevant. But yeah, in my opinion, friends, she needs to really rethink her whole, I'm going to stay relevant and be a public figure narrative, because she created a little baby after doing murder and being a public figure for it. And she knew this whole time what she said in those videos, and she knew that people were FOIA requesting them. So I don't believe there's any way that she didn't know that all this would eventually come out. She's chose to put a minor child in the middle of all this. If we didn't put this out, somebody else would have, and it might have been somebody not as conscientious as Amber, who is actually trying to redact things that were sent by mistake. A lot of people are of the opinion that if we all didn't talk about Gypsy, that she wouldn't be relevant. I disagree. I think if we didn't put the opposing narrative and information out there and talk about it, that she probably still have her Lifetime show and be a bigger public figure than ever. And maybe, like her stepmom Christy wanted to plan, going around talking to school children.
Understand the severity of keeping them a secret. And if we have a girl, the way it has to be is, if we have a girl, she has to lose her virginity to you because you are the master of the household. So, I'm going to have to explain that to her whenever she comes of age where it's time to explain it. Other than that, like when she's 7, I won't explain that, but around 13, I'll explain.
Which we can all clearly see is a bad idea, because I believe this figure here, Damona, still existed. Or what do y'all think, friends?
What do you think about the new
but that's your
FOIA and the
daughter.
videos coming out?
Well, I hope they all come out soon. Yeah, I want all of them to come out.
Gypsy's not worried?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I think that it's important for everyone to see everything.
Keep making content.
Cut off and edit here, and I hope everyone's having a good day. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I will probably see you here again.